Hello, I'm here with Doug to talk about Sisense. It is Friday, April 12, 2024. But first, you got an update about that eclipse story.
Yeah, so Sam, human memory is probably most fallible. And as we know, it's the worst testimony in court, typically.
Well, I
Wouldn't you rather have a photograph or videotape evidence or somebody's memory of 20 years ago?
I suppose you're right. I mean, it is the most heavily weighted testimony in court, but evidence shows it's very unreliable.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure a lot of innocent, convicted people that have been freed will agree with you on that one.
But if you have something like a videotape or a computer log, then the question is it faked? And so the real evidence is the human saying this is the genuine thing.
Yeah, so here we're in this circular reasoning.
Well, it goes all the way back. All these court procedures were defined before there was much in the way of technology, so human testimony was it. Now,
Yeah.
the only improvement I'm aware of is that they no longer routinely torture slaves with a special device when making them testify to make them honest.
Well, if you take a look at some recent police investigations, you'll find that torture is still used.
Not in
Not legally.
not in the courtroom.
No, not in the courtroom.
They used to. They used to specifically do it in the courtroom.
Yeah,
Part of
well,
the procedure. Anyway.
I'm still hearing stories of modern times when they're doing that.
Oh, it
Like,
happens. It happens, but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
concealed and illegal. It used to be part of the official process.
Oh, right, right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wasn't that what the Spanish Inquisition was about?
No, that was only part of it. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
that was part of it. Yeah. Anyway, so my apologies on this one.
yeah,
We're talking about the eclipse.
right.
And I said that Neil deGrasse Tyson had told a story about one of the Spanish explorers. And I did some research on this because we want to get to the facts as best we know them. And it turned out it was Columbus. It wasn't Magellan. It wasn't Cabrillo, some of those other Spanish explorers, but it was Columbus's third voyage in 1503, 1504, and he was on Espanola Island, which is part of one of the Galapagos Islands. And he knew that there was a lunar eclipse, not solar eclipse,
Yeah.
lunar eclipse that was going to come. And he needed food to get back. And the people on the island said, Chris, we only grew enough food for us to last the winter. And he said, well, we need the food to get back. And we're part of Spain. So you should give it to us. And they said, no, 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 we'll starve. So Columbus made the proclamation after reviewing with his navigator that there would be a lunar eclipse. And he said, my God is powerful than your God, as the story goes.
Yeah.
And in 3 days, we will take the moon from the sky. And sure enough, 3 days later, the moon turned a deep red color. And the natives came up and said, okay, you're right. Your God's more powerful than ours. Here's the food. And shortly after, the moon returns to its
Yep.
normal color. And then it was another, what do you figure, 20 years, 30 years before there was another lunar eclipse. I don't know what the schedule is.
I think they're even more. That's right.
I think they're more often.
Yeah, that's much better. Before this was my first objection was that you couldn't possibly predict the location of a solar eclipse, and they're too rare in timing. But a lunar eclipse, the whole Earth can see it, half the Earth can.
Yeah.
So that's far more common. Now my only objection is the natives would probably know that this happens periodically. It doesn't mean the end of the world. But anyway, being able to predict a lunar eclipse does in fact demonstrate significant advanced technology over the natives.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
And also only be within 3 days. This gets much more plausible. A lunar eclipse within 3 days is a whole lot more likely than a solar eclipse right when I want it.
All right. Well, that's why you should never have me as an
Yeah.
expert witness if you're on a murder trial, because I won't remember the truth.
Well, as you were saying, all studies show that eyewitness testimony is a whole lot less reliable than people think it is. So the main thing
Yeah.
is to when I watch good police procedurals, they know that everybody lies and you can't trust anything. And I tell my forensic students the same thing. You can't trust any of your tools too much. You need to use multiple tools to verify anything important.
Well, it's interesting that when you're being interrogated by police or law enforcement, you're expected to tell the truth, but the police can lie to you.
Yes. Well, I'm not sure that's wrong. I mean, that's part of getting the truth out of a witness is scaring them and getting them in an emotional state and stuff.
But it also can put somebody into a state
Yeah.
to give a false confession,
Yeah, which
which
totally
is
happens. Yeah.
something, which happens quite frequently.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah.
it,
And your lawyers are not allowed to lie in court, which is how many of Trump's lawyers keep getting disbarred because he
yeah,
forces them to go to court and say, we know the election was stolen or something like that. And then they're disbarred when they say, no, you aren't allowed to go to court and say something you know is false.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
All right.
I got
Well,
you ready? You done?
go ahead,
Okay.
Sam. What's your first story for today?
Well, this is the one which might be very big and maybe not. See, yes, a couple days ago, I was recording Pulse Security Weekly, and during the podcast, one guy said, "Oh, this just became public. So now I can tell you about this secret project I've been working on for weeks." There's another huge supply chain attack like SolarWinds, and it
Oh
attacked this
no.
company called Sisense. And they've been keeping it under wraps, but Brian Krebs broke it 2 days ago on Mastodon, and now there's a couple of articles about it. So this Sisense thing is some kind of software you use to get what sounds like analytics from your apps, but it's used by tons of huge companies, famous companies, and appears to be that's the problem with supply chain. It's used by all kinds of other technology. So probably every big company is in fact using it, whether they know it or not, because the commercial products they're using have this thing built in. And apparently there's some drastic flaw with it. And CISA is now warning people about it. So the details are still coming out. But the CISA has already urged all Sisense customers to reset all credentials and secrets that have been shared with the company. But apparently, the problem is it sort of sucks up all the data from whatever device you're using it on. So you probably shared more than you think you shared. So
So what's the issue again?
uh,
Do you,
they don't say exactly
they
what's
don't say.
wrong.
Okay.
It's not
Okay.
clear whether they got ransomware or it's a backdoor or what. Somehow, um, that's why we're still waiting for more details. It would be nice to
So
know.
yeah. So are they a data aggregator? Is that it?
Something like that. Intelligent
So it's
analytics,
not.
they call it. It's intelligent analytics. So, I mean, remember this happened like 10 years ago, this happened on the iPhone. There was a app on the iPhone to report what you were doing back to Apple because they need that to record, how many apps you're
Yeah.
crashing and how big is the delay and stuff like that. But when they found out, everyone said, you're spying on us, and Apple took it off. But that sounds like what this is, intelligent analytics in your products. So you know how many people are using it, where they are, what features they're using, and that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
that's
So this
yeah,
is not it's not a customer app or something that
no,
customers are using. This
no,
is a central repository that's been breached.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
breached isn't the right word. We don't know
It has
yet.
some kind of flaw. And the point
Yeah.
is, you install some commercial product from some other company, and unbeknownst to you, it has Sisense inside it, just like all
I
the other
see.
supply
I
chain
see.
attacks. And that's the
I see. I
yeah.
see. So
And
this
so
is sort.
here's some of the customers: Air Canada,
Okay.
PagerDuty, Philips Healthcare, Skull Candy, and Verizon are customers, and many other thousands of other organizations globally.
So we don't know what data has been compromised.
It's
We know
not
very little.
It's
So
not
that,
clear. See, companies like Sisense rely on using credentials, such as passwords and private keys, to access a customer's various stores of data for analysis. So apparently, you do have
hmm,
to give it your password. It will then log in to get the data it needs to analyze to present the business intelligence units with this useful summary of what their customers are doing.
I see.
So
So
it could be
this
very
sounds,
serious, or it could turn out not to be that serious. All the details are
yeah.
still coming out.
Yeah. So this sort of sounds like the Equifax breach, where Equifax collects data
Yeah.
and does some aggregation. Then they resell it on financial, and we still don't know all what was compromised with that, or at
Yeah.
least, yeah,
And
we
it's
just
like
know,
that also in the sense that they are probably sucking up data from you without you even knowing it or ever having
yeah,
heard of
yeah, interesting.
it. Yep. Yep. So
Well,
I'm sure we'll
well,
be hearing
this,
a lot more about that.
yeah. So I got an interesting story for you.
Yeah. I saw that. Oh, no,
Isn't this interesting?
yeah.
Which one?
There's another one like this I saw in San Francisco where a tow truck tried to tow a car that people were driving with the people in it. It tried to like back into them and tow them away, which is kind of insane. But anyway,
So was that a repossession?
no, they banned this tow company in San Francisco for doing crazy things like this. They're an unethical tow company that keeps towing the wrong cars just to like charge them money. And they tried to tow a car while people are just driving in traffic for no good
Yeah.
reason, which is way over the line. And they
All
got
right.
videotaped doing it. Anyway,
Well, this one took place in Cleveland,
yeah.
and this is going to real extremes here. But a woman received a speeding ticket after her van was on a flatbed tow truck being towed. So the camera, license plate recognition, found that the tow truck driver was speeding, but zoomed in on the license plate of what was being towed instead of the tow truck's license plate.
That seems like it would be almost impossible to prevent with a license plate recognition. And it makes me wonder if I could like
Yeah.
take the people I hate and print out a copy of their license plate and stick it all over my car and then drive really fast and get them a bunch of tickets.
Yeah, I think you could, but let me kind of continue. I got another point to bring up on that one. Anyway, the woman was sent a $105 speeding ticket in the mail with photographic evidence showing her speeding van was in fact on a tow truck, on a flatbed. It wasn't being towed behind. So if you look at the picture, you can clearly see it's on a tow truck. She
Well,
went to city officials and she said, "Oh, you don't deal with us. You need to deal with the camera company because they're the ones that collect the money on this," which seems really bad because they have a financial incentive to get you not to pay and to make sure. So they wouldn't agree.
I don't know,
What do you
violates
do?
this violates a fundamental principle, which I tell my students in the management classes. You can outsource work, but you cannot outsource responsibility. It's the
Yeah.
government that has the authority to write that ticket. They can't abdicate that responsibility.
Well, they did in Emeryville for parking tickets. If you parked in a parking garage and you didn't pay whatever the fee is, they had license plate, the security guards had license plate recognition software, and they were writing tickets that the city that were unenforceable by the city.
Yeah. And that's the issue. I mean, the
Yeah.
point is some company can write the ticket, but the only organization with the authority to enforce it is the government.
However, this is private property.
Oh, that's a different issue.
So if they've got your license plate and they clearly state this on the ticket, if you don't pay, you park again, they have the right to tow you.
I imagine that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, which seems pretty extreme.
Well,
And
no, I think you come home and somebody's parked on your property, you have the right to remove that car.
yeah, but if you go into what's a quad, I mean, obviously it's private, but it appears to be a public parking garage and you don't pay, why don't they have the gates anymore? And I will tell you, I park there and it is so confusing where you have to go for the kiosk, the information you have to provide.
Yeah.
You have to go back to the car. If you're not in that 15, 20-minute window and the security guard drives by, you get a ticket.
Yeah.
Who do you appeal to? There is no appeals process, on and on. And anyway, let's get
Well, yeah.
back to this.
It's a lot like those terms of service for all our software.
Yeah, exactly. So the woman's worried about her insurance rates increasing,
Yeah.
things along those lines. And it was noted by the city that the camera was placed in an economic disadvantaged area. So the city council voted months earlier to have the camera removed, but it wasn't. So the city said, no, no, no more of these tickets, no more of this camera. But the company is taking their time to remove the camera. So they're still generating money,
Yeah.
right? Nice source of income until they have find enough time to go out there and remove it.
Yeah.
So, here the incentive is for the camera company to issue as many tickets as possible with as little oversight as possible
Yeah.
and no appeals. And I'm just surprised that, I mean, I'm not sure, but with COVID, and not with COVID, but it seems like she should be able to go into traffic court.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I would think
I,
so.
I don't know, maybe with COVID that was outsourced.
They
These private companies, that doesn't make any
they
sense to
can't
me.
outsource the court part of it, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, Sam, what else you got
Yeah.
for us?
All right.
So,
Yep.
the message here is don't speed while you're being towed. How's that?
Yeah, it's pretty
Oh,
good. Yeah.
hey, Sam, wait, I got one other piece of advice here. You were talking about masking your license plate.
Yeah.
I have seen probably a dozen cars, and if you want, I can put up a photo of this next time. But when you get your year tag,
Yeah.
you peel it off and it's got the year sticker.
Yeah.
And as long as I can remember, there's a little tab on the left hand side where you've got a piece that's about a quarter inch wide, and it's the length of the year ticket, and it's made out of that reflective material. So what they do is they take it, and if there's an O on your license plate, they'll put it in a spot to make it look like a Q,
Oh.
or they'll take those stickers and they'll plaster it all over the license plate to try and confuse the license plate recognition software.
Hmm.
Now, obviously, it's twofold. They can avoid bridge tolls, right, from license plate recognition. So that could be a considerable sum. You can also, in the HOV lanes, I believe they also use license plate recognition. But my question is, I wonder how successful those are. And your license plate does light up. If you ever go through the bridge, you'll notice that there's a strobe light that lights up the license plate. So if you have a piece of cardboard there, that's not going to light up as much. And they do this during the day. So that way it makes it easier for the reading.
Hmm.
But this material is reflective,
Yeah.
but I wonder if it's large enough really to make a difference. And it would sure be a magnet for police officers to say, hey, pull this guy over, altered license plate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'd be kind of curious to see if that really, in fact, fakes out the license plate recognition cameras.
I bet it does because I'm
You
doing that
think so?
in my machine learning classes. We program um, image recognition AIs, and just a little bit of like snow on the image is enough to make it totally confused.
Hmm.
It can be
Okay.
enough. Just little dots you wouldn't even notice can be enough if they're carefully chosen. Now here it's just kind of random, but that shiny dot that shiny square is a lot more than it takes. So,
Ah, okay.
so
Okay.
and I don't, it wouldn't necessarily work, but I bet it would greatly decrease the success of an AI reading your plate.
Okay. All
But
right.
just a few random black dots or shiny dots on it would probably be enough. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. All right. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. So the Department of Health and Human Services is warning that healthcare IT help desks are being attacked, and they're being attacked with sophisticated social engineering. What they do is they contact them by phone calls and claim to be a employee in a financial role. Then to demonstrate their identity, the threat actor provides everything you asked them for, the last four digits of the social security number, corporate ID number, and so on. They get all that. And then they claim that they can't log in or receive their MFA tokens because their phone is broken. So they trick them into enrolling a new device in MFA. So now they get into one person's email. Then they focus on obtaining login credentials for payer websites, allowing them to alter automated clearinghouse details for paying accounts so they redirect the money. And they are using fake voice, where they deep fake voices to
Yeah,
trick
yeah.
people. So it sounds pretty sophisticated and pretty dangerous. And so they're recommending that you require callbacks to the phone number on record, monitor your automated clearinghouse for changes, make sure your supervisor has to be contacted to verify requests, and so on. Train your help desk staff about social engineering. But anyway, sounds like pretty serious and using the modern techniques. So, for a while I would hear about these deep fakes and say, well, that could happen, but it's not happening that much. Well, now it's happening a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're going to see more of this.
Oh, yeah, it's a way to make money.
Yeah, yeah,
Apparently, it
yeah.
just takes nothing more than cheap or free software to do it. So,
Yeah. So isn't this amazing? Is computers become less expensive
yeah,
and the software becomes easier to use.
yeah.
The crimes are easier to commit.
Well, Elon Musk said that by the end of next year, we'll have AI smarter than humans. And I think this is garbage, like almost everything Elon Musk says. But Bill Gates also said that, only 3 jobs are going to survive. And one of them is making AIs, and I forget the other two. I think all these people are crazy. I don't think AI is at all as smart as they think it is, or it's going as far as they think it's going. But a lot of people think it's going to ruin everything.
Well,
But it is going to
well,
improve fishing. That it's going to.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
not the
yeah,
same thing as replacing all the workers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. I think AI is like self-driving cars.
Yeah.
Sometime soon, maybe in the next 100 years.
Well, to some extent you have it, but only a sort of
Yeah,
simple, lame version. It's not as good as a good human driver.
right. Yeah, 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 yeah,
It's
yeah.
probably better than a bad human driver.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Or a sleeping human
Better than
driver.
a
How's
drunk human
that?
driver, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So, Sam, I got a great story for you.
Yeah.
There are fake AI law firms that are sending out fake uh, DC. Do you know about this?
No, but
DC.
exactly what's
Um,
fake? I mean, there are no actual lawyers, right? It's just a
there's
random guy
there's no
using
law
AI,
firm.
but
Yeah,
there is
it's
a
a
human
rand.
collecting money and delivering
Nope,
like,
nope, nope.
no,
It's not money. So
oh,
what's the DCMCIA? That's not the
the
right
Digital
acronym.
Millennium Copyright Act.
Yeah. So Digital Millennium Copy
Right.
DCMA.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So the law firm, the fake law firm, is sending out fake DCMA notices to web page holders saying there's a copyright infringement and we're going to fake sue you for $1 million,
Yeah.
something like that, or take down notice and your website's going to go away. But if you put up our little disclaimer here on your website,
Oh,
we won't charge you anything. We'll just call it even. And thank you very much for giving us credit.
oh,
Now, what do you think is in that little piece of code that
I would,
people have to put on their website?
I would assume malware of some kind.
You got it. So, unsophisticated web page designers
Yeah.
or, company owners of websites in fear of being sued are putting this up. And it's a fake company, fake AI law firm generating fake AI letters about fake DCMA.
Yeah. That's a good one. I remember this discussion I had like 15 years ago with students is how do you get malware on a web page? We said,
Yeah,
well, you could find like a WordPress vulnerability and insert it, and that happens to the Magento and stuff. Or you could just buy an ad and put malware in the ad, but I hadn't thought of this one.
I know this is a new one. It's a new switch on buying ads that have malware in it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, you have another one for us?
You, you know,
No,
no,
maybe.
I do, but I'm still
Oh,
thinking about yours. Most DMCA takedown notices are pretty much fake like this. They usually don't really sue you. They just get someone to write a letter that sounds scary to like get you into paying like a fee or something. But anyway, um,
Sam, when who was it? Napster came along and the
Right.
record companies were suing people.
Yeah.
This is a story I heard. So the kids, the parents were responsible because they were minors. So the parents were being sued for 50,000, 100,000, whatever, dollars. Who do you think fought it versus who paid? What category of people? What educated people? What educated group of people?
I don't know. It's hard to know who would be stubborn, you know.
The lawyers.
Oh, the lawyers fight. Well, that would make sense.
No, no, no. The lawyer said, "Oh, my kid has 50, 10,000,
Wrong.
thing, illegal downloads. Tell you what, record companies, here's the $15,000. Will you take that as settlement?"
Yeah.
And they did. So
Yeah.
I heard quite a few parents kids' parents who are lawyers, just didn't even fight it, paid the money, and
Well,
said, "Be
that's
done
probably
with
just
it."
because they have the money, so they don't really care.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We heard those stories of the women, or I know there was a woman who was going to go bankrupt, lose her house. I wonder how those stories panned out.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't know. Anyway,
Anyway, I got a couple more that again, I'm not quite sure how much of a big deal to make out of them. There's a guy that found it was the news was they found a flaw in Rust. But the guy who found the vulnerability said it's not really a flaw in Rust. It's a flaw in essentially every programming language, and it comes about from a really strange situation. You know how in Linux, the backslash escapes a character. So if you want to have a
yes.
quote, but you don't want to interpret it as a quote where it has to match another quote, you use a backslash. Well, you can't do that in Windows because Microsoft, in their wisdom, used a backslash for the division between directories. So when you write a command line in the CMD command interpreter, the escape character is caret, shift 6. I didn't know that. Did you know that? I feel
Maybe.
like maybe I once was told that 20 years ago,
Yeah.
but I should. Anyway, so this means almost every programming language doesn't correctly escape the command line arguments when executing CMD commands on Windows because none of the developers seem to know this. So you can inject commands in them. It applies to Rust, and he showed it in JavaScript and other languages, many languages. So it's kind of cute. I don't know what the real practical effect will be, but it
Yeah.
comes, as I think all of us know that use Windows in class, the CMD terminal is very frustrating. Like copy and paste don't work right. It's not Control C and Control V. It's like enter to copy and right click to paste, which is
They fixed
insane.
that. Sam, they fixed it.
But the new terminal they have, but the old CMD still works
Yeah.
the old way.
Right.
And so I know
Yeah.
they finally fixed it. They finally fixed that and they added SSH after like 35 years, finally.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's now you can calculate a SHA-1 hash or an MD5 hash without installing special software too.
Right.
Finally, we only
Finally.
had to
Yeah.
wait for 35 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
there's a similar one here. It's hitting a lot of press. So Microsoft emails got hacked by Russian attackers. And it happened, I think, in 2013, but became pretty well known around January. But CISA, it keeps getting worse. There's a rule
Oh,
in
no.
incident response where you have to like admit what happened, explain it clearly, explain what you do to stop it. And Microsoft is doing the typical wrong thing. First, you deny it. Then you admit like 1/10 of it. Then you reluctantly admit another tenth of it. Then every few weeks you say, well, it was a little worse. Well, it was a little worse. This way you make it much worse for your company. And so
Yeah.
Microsoft is really getting a lot of criticism because the Russians hacked into a lot of government emails and apparently into their government Azure accounts. And Microsoft tried to lie and cover this up for a long time. So now the CISA has like officially told people your federal agents' mail may have been taken, and they're demanding that Microsoft explain their shoddy security practices through their online authentication. They say the whole online authentication process for like email and Microsoft 365 seems to be broken. And they also think they don't trust Azure authentication either. And they're asking Microsoft a lot of hard questions. So this
We'll
one
see. The story's unraveling, right?
It does, but the problem is, what are you going to do? If you're a major federal
Yeah.
agency, you can only use Amazon or Microsoft. And if you use Windows, you really have to use Microsoft. So they're kind of a monopoly. So no matter how much they suck, you have to use them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
This is another one of these things that we're just gonna keep hearing more and more about it for probably a couple of years. And
Yeah.
maybe they'll have another like Bill Gates 2002 letter, a security improvement globally across Microsoft, like a new push to improve their security. That appears to be what they need.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see, right? Sam,
Yeah.
we'll see on this.
Yeah,
We'll
that's right.
see.
It might be really important. Like all my security stories are, it might be important and it might not. The haze is still clearing, so we can see what
Yeah.
really happened here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well,
All
that's
right. That's it for me too.
oh,
I'm not going to be available next time, but I will be a week from today.
all right. Well, I'll put one on Tuesday. I may be the only one on it, but we'll see you back on Friday then.
All right. We'll see you. Thanks,
Okay.
Sam.
Yeah.